It's crunch time in the fantasy hockey game, which is why Week 9 must add targets on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, coming in red hot. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Waiver wire episodes don't get much spicier than the Week 9 edition on tap for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast. We got to be getting these teams in prime spot to strike down the second half of the NHL season. Shout out to the everydayers who continue to hold us down and make us their first listen every single day. We are part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in North America. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Mr. Rodin, we're getting close to the halfway point somehow of the NHL and fantasy hockey season, and I'm ready to go with a number of different targets. We have said this now over the last couple of weeks, and I think it really holds true this upcoming week. If you're like me and you're starting to fade in some of these leagues, your leash is getting extra short. I've got a number of targets I'm looking at. Who are you looking at and why? I'm fired up and ready to go for another Sunday special.
Looking at the blue line, looking at the offensive group as well. I've got some deep cuts under 5%, but I want to start with the players that should still be available, but they are slowly but surely increasing in value right now. And I know you talked about him last week, but Darren Raddysh has to be talked about once again.
Boom, on fire.
He's in an optimal experience, optimal condition right now, especially with Victor Hedman out of the lineup with injury. He's taking the full brunt, the full load of all the extracurriculars on the back end, quarterbacking the power play. He's got 13 points in his last 10 games. And guess what? He's got 16 points in 19 games this season. So he is flourishing right now. He is thriving right now without Victor Hedman in the lineup. And so are the Tampa Bay Lightning, for a matter of fact. They are on a 7-game win streak, atop of the Atlantic Division. I believe Darren Raddysh is rostered at 37% right now on Yahoo. That should continue to rise. He's getting shots on net. He's getting power play points. The peripheral jumping off the page as well. Darren Raddysh, again, a few years, maybe last year, a year and a half ago, I mentioned him. A little bit of a, player that not a lot of the hockey community were too fond of, or not too fond of, but were expecting big things out of, especially with Victor Hedman in the lineup. Now with him out and Darren Raddysh taking his place, he's thriving, like I said. And you said this last week as well, so he's got to be mentioned again.
Really intriguing that this Tampa Bay Lightning team is doing what it's doing. Victor Hedman out. Ryan McDonough out. Eric Chernak out.
Yeah.
Their top three demon. No disrespect to someone named Charles-Edouard Dastow, Steven Santini, Declan Carlisle. I don't know who these players are, Steele. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are flexing their muscle as the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. So maybe we need to pay attention to what's going on with the Tampa Bay Lightning in general. But Darren Raddysh, that percentage, I hope you were in the boat that jumped on this earlier in the last couple of weeks when we've been speaking about him. Zachary Bolduc was a name that I spoke about a ton in the offseason. This was a nice little bit of business from the front office in Montreal bringing this player on. He started hot and then he went ice cold. Here is the full disclaimer, full stop. This man is on the top line with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield right now. He is also on the top line of the #1 power play unit in Montreal. And I know the Montreal Canadiens are having their struggles right now. There is no way to sugarcoat that. However, when you see that deployment, 4-5-1 for the Habs, by the way, so not a complete mess, but Bolduc's on the top line, Steele. He's on the top power play unit on a team that you and I have spoke at length about how much we like it. How about this in the last 3 games for Bolduc? 2 goals, 3 assists, ice time on the rise, throwing his body around this season up to 42 hits. This is a good all-around versatile player who fills out some peripherals, and he's now starting to get a top-line look. Let me wrap it up with this before I turn it back to you. 18% on Yahoo, and here's the schedule and the kicker. Blues, Leafs, Jets, and Sens. Mixed bag, but it's 4 games. Bolduc, you need some love up front. He's at the top of my list this upcoming week.
Yeah, good option as well. I mean, they've dealt with a lot of injuries, especially like we talked about Patrick Laine, Alex Newhook, Kirby Dach. He's getting some great opportunity in that top 6, and he's, he kind of slowed down for a little bit, but now he's picked up over the last, especially on this road trip for the Montreal Canadiens. I know you're going to like this one. I think you have him as well. Connor McMichael of the Washington Capitals. They've really picked up pace as well. They're top 3 in the Metropolitan, 4-game win streak, 7-2-1 in their last 10. 1 point back of the New Jersey Devils of top of the Metropolitan Division. I've got 2 players from the Washington Capitals. Number 1 is Connor McMichael. He's been heating up a lot recently. He's got 4 points in his last 3 games. He's shooting the puck a lot more, which is great. He's got 14 shots in the last 3 games. He's getting some ice time upwards of anywhere from 17 to 18 minutes. He's still on average is getting somewhere around the 16 and a half minute of average ice time. Connor McMichael, I think, is a great option, rostered at 28%. 4 games this upcoming week. The LA Kings, San Jose Sharks, Anaheim Ducks, and Columbus Blue Jackets. They do go on that California road trip to start off the week. However, Ethan Frank, this kid on the bottom line for Washington has to be mentioned as well. He's got 9 points in 14 games. I don't really know where he came out of, but he's producing a lot of great things right now. Like I said, 3 goals in 14 games, 8 penalty minutes, 21 shots, 8 blocks, 10 hits, rostered at 2%. He's going to be available. If you're looking for a deep cut, you're looking for someone to just provide something, because he's getting minimal ice time. He's getting anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes of average ice time a game, but he's still producing. He's making the most out of that opportunity. So I wanted to mention both those players.
Washington Capitals turning it on. Win in 4 straight games, 7-2-1 in their last 10. That goal differential up to plus 19 Steele. That's the same mark as the Tampa Bay Lightning for the best number for goal differential in the Eastern Conference. They had their kind of slow start. They had the issues. I still say that this team might have to put it all together come the second half. However, right now is a time to get a piece of what's going on here in Washington. You spoke a lot about what's going on with Jacob Chychrun as well. So giddy up and let's get after it. Luke Evangelista, 17 points Steele in 24 games. I'm going to talk about 2 Nashville Predators, and I know that's a hard sell, tough sell, whatever you want to say. This team is not good. I watched that game on Saturday. The Nashville Predators are dead last in the Western Conference, 3-7-0 in their last 10. But Luke Evangelista right now, hey, we're giving you some of these dirty deep cuts. 17 points in 24 games, 55 shots on net Steele. That's fantasy value. I don't need to sell you on that. And even though you might not like what's going on in Nashville, that's top line minutes with Stammer and Ryan O'Reilly. That is their top line. And for now, while he's hot, let me throw this out there. Flames, Panthers, and Canes, not the best in terms of the schedule. However, 25% on Fantrax and 2 on Yahoo. If you're in a deeper format like we are in a ton of leagues, you're not going to love every single angle and aspect about every waiver wire target you're going after. Evangelista is hot. He's producing. He's on the top line and minutes are going up. Go after Luke Evangelista if you need some forward love. I think that's a very straightforward take, Steele. We've talked about this player a little bit over the last couple of years.
Yeah, we have. It is tough to sell on the Nashville Predators, and again, this is still a good option for deep cuts or deep leagues where you need some help off the waiver wire. It's tough in Nashville right now. I mean, that's as much I can say about it. So we got a lot more targets to talk about going into week 9 of your fantasy hockey leagues. Take it away, Flip.
We have so much more, Steele, also to talk about all week long. Stay with your finger on the pulse. You know I like to say this, guys. We've got all the fantasy hockey coverage that you need all week long, November, December, all year. We're here no matter what. The World Cup is coming back, and that's why Game Time is today's sponsor. Much love to our friends at Game Time. Tap into 48 teams for the first time ever in North America. Getting tickets is the hardest part for our favorite events, but that's why the Game Time app comes in the clutch, giving soccer fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts, great seats, and buy tickets when the moment hits the app right away. Push the power back in your hands and make sure the World Cup is realistic instead of impossible. Pull up the app. The layout is so simple to use. Scroll through matchups, compare seats, pick a game, tap a section, have your tickets loaded within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for that fine print. The seat view on game time. It's a go-to for both Steele and I. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every single match, concert, or event in between with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That is downloading the app, make an account. Locked On NHL is the code for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Rodin. Hopefully we're helping you out with your waiver wire targets and your fantasy matchups every single week. Flip, we both got this guy, Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
He's heating up. I know he's only got 12 points in 25 games, but he does have 5 points in his last 5 games. And obviously, like we've already said, you want to get a piece where you can. And that second line has actually been really solid for Colorado. Brock Nelson's been heating up as well. Ross Colton's been providing that physicality that they need, every so often, of course. Gabriel Landeskog is getting back into true form of what we've seen him do as the leader, as the veteran, as the captain of this Colorado Avalanche team.
Totally.
So I like the fact that he goes back where he lives, right in front of the net. That's his bread and butter. He's banging away at those rebounds. He's doing all the dirty work. And it's just great to see him back in action and really just be successful so far. And of course, this team be successful. The Colorado Avalanche have 4 games this upcoming week: Vancouver, the New York Islanders, the New York Rangers, and the Philadelphia Flyers. I think they're going to absolutely eat every single one of those teams up alive, especially the New York Rangers, because they still are the worst team at home. So this 3-game road trip for the Colorado Avalanche, I think, is going to be great for them. Get a piece of the Colorado Avalanche where you can. I believe Landeskog is rostered at 28% on Yahoo.
I don't think we can speak enough to the fact of what this man has been through injury-wise. This isn't a player who also played on the peripherals of the game. He is a very much mix it up, throw the body on the line for the team type player. 26% on Yahoo Steele is criminally low. 56 on Fantrax. I think this number is going to be significantly higher by the time even some of our listeners hear the words come out of our mouth here. Canucks, Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, like you said, unreal. How about that he's also, and this is where I think, I like to throw this out, full stop moments. We don't need to sell you on anything. This man is centering the top power play unit. Natchez, Makar, McKinnon, Lehkonen, game done. If you need a forward and I need to sell you on anything else, Gabriel Landeskog is looking like he is the player that, I don't want to say we all expected when he came back from injury, because there was obviously a lot of doubts there. But if you were buying into it, and he's healthy enough to make a real run at a comeback, and you were on that side of things, he is now proving that he can still get it done. 12 points, the 25 games, 36 hits Steele, 21 penalty minutes. I am shocked when I looked into those numbers and I see 26% on Yahoo. That really doesn't make sense to me. You and I have covered and spoken at length about the Colorado Avalanche. Gabriel Landeskog, this is a beauty of an ad, regardless of the format, for upcoming Week 9. Must add Gabriel Landeskog.
Must add for sure. This is where you get really deep into the barrel here of these picks. All my last 3 players are under 5%. They're all available in every single format. Number 1, Lawson Crouse of the Utah Mammoth. Let me just quickly pull up the schedule here. 4-game road trip this upcoming week. They got 4 games: San Jose Sharks, Anaheim Ducks, Vancouver, and then a back-to-back between the Canucks and the Flames. So I really like the schedule for the Utah Mammoth. I know they've lost the last 3 games in ugly fashion. It's been a rough ride, obviously, with Clayton Keller's dad passing unexpectedly, a few days ago. So I think the team is going to try to rally around him. Lawson Crouse, when you look at what he provides fantasy value-wise, 9 points in 26 games. He's not going to jump off the page offensively, but The peripherals are what stand out. 43 shots, 70 hits. He can get some penalty minutes. He's only got 6 on the season, which actually really down, but he can drop the gloves. He's going to stick up for his teammates. It's really those peripherals, the banger league beauty, and Lawson Crouse is what you're looking for. Again, he'll chip in with the odd point here and there, but it's those blocks, the hits, and the shots on net.
It's at this time of the season, though, especially like I alluded to at the top of the episode, it's not going to be sexy on every single aspect of the players that you're taking a look at. And it might have to be tapping into a team like the Nashville Predators, and you ride the hot hand. I talk a lot about players that I like to add and keep. I think every single player that I've spoken about and that I will speak about are an add, and you have to keep an eye on them very closely. Case in point is Nick Blankenberg, another defenseman on the Nashville Predators. How about this, though? 3 goals, 2 assists, ice time up for Blankenberg, shots on net. He also throws the blocks. This is a really interesting player, Steele, that when I looked at just hot players on low ownership, he is at the top of almost every single category. 22% on Fantrax right now, 2% on Yahoo. Filling out your blue line can be like pulling teeth. So I wanted to just try and at least come on and throw one blue line option at you from my side of things. I've got 2 goalies that I want to speak about after the break, and you and I just touched on the Nashville Predators being a tough sell. He is a third pairing defenseman. However, with those minutes up and the offensive production, he's now catching power play 2 time. I think this is one of those names that if we didn't dig into the trenches and mention him, some of our listeners out there might not pay attention. And right now there's value to be had. Flames, Panthers, and Canes, not super sexy. They have 4 games the following week. Blankenberg out there putting up points. Have a look. Don't hate until you try it.
You're seeing his name pop up more and more in the hockey community, especially when you look at the score sheet. His name is all over the page right now. So great option on the back end. This one, another deep cut. AJ Greer of the Florida Panthers, below roster at 5% on Yahoo, and pretty much anywhere you look, or you do your fantasy matchups here. This guy, whether you hate him or love him, I don't think anyone really loves him unless you're a Florida Panthers fan. But
fair.
He's been heating up a little bit recently. He's got 4 points in his last 3 games, and this is guy again. He's not going to jump off the page offensively.
Oh,
he's
it's
not
a deep
do
cut.
all those things. It is a deep cut. I will say he is on pace for a career high. He does have 10 points in 24 games. He is on pace for at least 30 points this season, which he has never gotten past 20 before in his career. However, it's the banger league beauty you're looking from. 72 hits this season, 30 shots, blocks, it is what it is, but 41 penalty minutes. This guy, in no doubt, can put up over 100 plus penalty minutes, which he's done twice throughout his career. He's known to put up over 100 plus hits. He actually had 222 hits last year as well. So obviously, if you need some help in those categories, I think Lawson Crouse and AJ Greer are great options for this upcoming week. 4 games again for the Florida Panthers. Toronto Maple Leafs, Nashville Predators, Columbus Blue Jackets, and the New York Islanders. Pick them up if you need some help in those banger league categories.
Time to dig into the trenches and get nitty gritty, my friends. Time is running out if you're trying to make a move. I got a couple of goaltenders, Steele. We're trying to balance it out as much as possible on every single waiver wire special. I got 2 names you got to consider. One of them is a bit of a swimming specialist. However, I'll sell you on him anyway right after the break, and stay tapped all week long.
All week long, we will be back Monday through Friday. Thank you so much. This episode is also brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, saving, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why we started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. I love that I can review everything with my partners, see our shared goals, and make better financial decisions together. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Flip over to you, my friend, your next waiver wire target.
I got to show some love to the Philadelphia Flyers one time. And we've touched on this a little bit. Dan Vladar, 56% on Fantrax, a bit of a tougher sell, 44 on Yahoo. This is the guy in Philadelphia, Steele, and this is a team that's impressed me of late. And I think, I would love to just always come on here and say, well, we were on this goaltender this year. Listen to what we've said the whole time. I don't remember anybody talking about Dan Vladar. In fact, I think I was wrong saying Samuel Ersson is the goaltender to go look at, and that's not been the case. And Dan Vladar has the 10th best goals against average in the NHL this season. 10-4-1, 9-12 save percentage. The Philadelphia Flyers are 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. By the by, how's that Noah Cates panning out for you lately? Noah Cates is centering Travis Konechny and Tyson Forster on the top line in Philadelphia. This team's scoring goals. It's winning. Trevor Zegras is looking pretty good. Owen Tippett on fire again. Matvei Michkov's starting to show signs of life. I don't know how they're doing it with a blue line of a whole bunch of interesting individuals. However, Dan Vladar, right now, Penguins, Sabres, and Avs this week. Pretty favorable week other than the Avs at the end of it. If you need an option, Dan Vladar probably jumps right to the top of the list. I spoke about it earlier on the episode, earlier on Sunday, Steele. Dostal's out 2 to 3 weeks. He has been a very reliable and healthy goaltender. I would say lean to the 2-week side of things, considering his track record. Peter Mrazek, though, the Ducks have the Blues, Mammoth, Caps, and Hawks. 14% on Fantrax, 6 on Yahoo. I don't trust Ville Husso, not nearly as much as I think I'd give Mrazek a shot. So I think those two names in the blue paint this week jump to the top of my list, especially Dan Vladar.
Yeah, they really have to, and Dan Vladar is a great option right now. Again, with how thin the waiver wire list is for goaltenders. My last player, I'll make it real quick, is Sam Rinzel of the Chicago Blackhawks. Right now, Chicago is running 7 defensemen. He gets brought up. He's getting some time. He's getting some opportunity. His minutes can range anywhere from 12 on the low end to 17 on the high end. He does have 4 points in his last 4 games, so he is heating up a little bit right now. They got 4 games. It's a 4-game road trip this upcoming week. Starting off with the Vegas Golden Knights on Tuesday. They got back-to-back games. Not back-to-back, but they play the LA Kings twice this week and then finish off the week against the Anaheim Ducks. So 4-game road trip for Chicago. I know, like I talked about, it's been a little bit of a rough stretch down over the last 10 games recently. Again, if you just need some help on the back end, I think Sam Rinzel, he's going to be available, obviously, and he's a decent option.
Good luck, week 9. Going to be a good one. We're here for a few more episodes to take you over the top. Tap in, and let's get after it.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. For your second listen, make sure you go check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned, and we will see you back here again tomorrow.
Go Bills.